What's up, Lemon Heads? Welcome back to another episode of From the Yellow Chair. I'm Emily.
And I'm Crystal.
And this week, we're going to talk about the hot topic, mergers and acquisitions.
Yep, right now, PE acquisition, PE groups bought by PE, all the terms are hot topics in the contracting world. We have somebody that's actually been through that. I've been privy to be a part of some of that. So we're going to get the lowdown from that person. Happens to be my brother, so we'll get that part over with. But we're going to listen to him talk about his journey through being acquired and then also what he's doing now. It's kind of some cool stuff going on. So let's sip some M&A lemonade today.
Let's do it. All right, so this guy is not new to Lemon Seed or to our podcast. Trey McWilliams, Sour Lemon as I like to call him, is here in the lemonade stand today.
It's only because he makes us watch our money.
So Trey, a lot of people know that you just partnered with an investor and have begun bringing McWilliams & Son across the country. So tell us a little bit about that journey and what you've been going through recently.
With us, with me personally, wanting to grow a bigger platform, enjoying the game of business, and honestly, that's what I enjoyed doing. So I wasn't looking for, in my particular case, I wasn't looking for someone to purchase me and for me to retire and ride off in the sunset. So I think as we look at that, there's a lot of different reasons why you would partner with someone. And for us, it was we had grown the business. We had greenfield locations. We had made acquisitions ourselves, along with added plumbing and different lines. And we really got to a point to where the risk tolerance for me was getting to a point where it started to bother me. I enjoyed the business, enjoyed the game, but there's a point there where I had my whole livelihood on the line every day. So for us, my company, we were at a point to where we wanted to continue the growth, but my risk tolerance was tapped out. And that's really what started us to go down this journey of, hey, what does partnerships look like? What's the difference in all these partnerships? And that's really where I think, a lot of our learning curve for me and just learning everything in 2018 was, private equity means a lot of different things. And so that was, educating myself on that and really starting to understand, like, what was I looking for in a partner? Really, what were the things that I felt I was missing? Because let's face it, capital, anybody can supply you with capital. So it's way more than that. And that's really where, we elected to kind of go through that process and ultimately ended up landing on creating our own platform for multiple reasons, as we'll probably get into as we go through this. But there's a lot of different reasons. I think there's a ton of benefits with creating, or with partnering with people or with groups.
Nice.
Yeah, and I do, though. I remember, though, when you first started talking about, because, of course, in true fashion, lots of people were knocking on the door. Lots of companies were asking, are you interested? Let us talk. Let us do this. And I just don't think anything ever felt just right.
Yeah, so, I mean, and I believe there's a lot of great companies out there that's in the space today, and there's a lot of them with different paths on what success looks like. And for me personally, success looked like, where was my team going to be at, and where was I going to be at in the next 10 years? There's obviously an economic outcome that we were looking for, but that was not the main focus when we started this journey. And so as we went through the process, just like many of you guys are going through today, and talking to all these different partners, for us, it was something that I just had a desire to do it on my own.
More a part of the action.
Well, I think there's a different set of skill sets, and there's different things that people enjoy doing. And for me, putting great team members and building a team, that's what was a key driver for me, is the reason we elected to create a platform to go find like-minded contractors. So to say that there was anything wrong with all the different partners and partnering with someone, no. I think that is probably your best avenue. Just for us, the reason we elected to build our own platform is there was not any company out in the space that I was entertaining that was doing exactly what I wanted to do. And that was, at the end of the day, there's again, there's a ton of different private equity out there doing a lot of different strategies, and I think all of them have their place. But for us, it was a build something that will last, build something that was employee centric, build something that would carry on the legacies of all these hard workers that had, these guys that had built these businesses and had their blood, sweat, and tears in them.
Sweat equity.
And that's what was a key driver for me. It wasn't so much of the wanting to operate something necessarily at be in control of everything. It was really just being in control on who our partners were going to be. And so I think, I entertained and looked at a lot of different companies and learned a lot. And but it was it just came down to us as like, hey, we wanted to build something a little different than what's out there today.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay.
So you mentioned there's lots of different angles or values that lots of these private equity companies have. So, it's a hot topic in this industry. So if someone is thinking about selling, what's important for them to kind of be prepared to start that conversation? How do they need to kind of get their house in order, if you will, to start this?
So I think the house in order question, I believe, I look at your house always needs to be in order, right? Because I think there's you never know when that time's going to come, whether that's a health scare or someone comes knocking on your door, or there's another opportunity, right? So you never know when those things are going to take place. So to say I would, get my house in order to have it, to sell it, I believe you always should have your house in order. And I think there's some tactics that you can, some short-term things that you need to be doing, or that looking at maybe the timing of certain things, maybe when you're purchasing new trucks or something like that. There's some small things that obviously are maybe some strategic things you would do to maximize the value in your business. But overall, from an operational standpoint, your house needs to be in order. But when you talk about when's the right time to sell your business, I think the first thing you got to ask yourself is why are you? What's the reason for selling or partnering? I'd prefer to refer it to partnering with a group. Why would you be doing that? And I think that's really the differences in a lot of these different groups. It really depends on what your mission is, and if it's truly to sell your business and walk away, then there's a group out there for you for that. Mm-hmm. Where's your people come in that play? That's a question you got to ask yourself. The people that are with your team today, and then there's different ones. For us, it was I wanted some help to go to the next level, whether that was exposure, capital. There's a lot of different reasons for that. But Trey and my team, we were not exiting the game, right? And so I really think that when we talk about when is the right time or why would you exit, and I think all that comes down to the owner. What's his goal?
Well, and I think just making them actually think about it and kind of articulate, because a lot of times I think sometimes people are just day after day, fly by night, but being intentional, kind of think about what your end goal is, and then getting your house in order, like you said, it should already be that way. Yeah,
and one thing that, just because of all the contractors that I talk to a lot of times, people are just they're shy on all kinds of aspects, right? It's kind of it's never the perfect time to have a baby. It's never the perfect time to get married, change jobs, whatever. I think a lot of people are looking for a little bit of, they're scared because the journey that you go on to be acquired or to partner with someone is a pretty intense. It's emotionally intense. It's mentally intense, and it's the fear of the unknown. It's the fear of is this the right deal? Did I not get the money that I should have gotten? And who do you trust? I think there's so many of those things going on right now. But to Trey's point, I think sometimes, as far as your business goes, you should always be working to clean your business. Make your business be as profitable as it can be. Look at your numbers. Focus on operations. All of those things. And then when you get ready, reach out to other people that have sold. There's other great advisors all in these all in these best practice groups that can help you with that. So, and then you kind of alluded to a little bit of this earlier, looking for the right potential partner. And you said there's lots of people lots of people doing great things. I personally think that not everybody is the right fit for everyone else. So there are some contractors, I mean, that we work with at Lemon Seed, that they just bought the business 3 years ago because it looked cool, and now they're kind of flip it, and they're not as concerned about the sweat equity that Trey mentioned. And then I'm looking at a third generation owner that his grandpa, dad, now he runs it, and the thought of selling it scares the crap out of him. Like, how am I going to sell this out for my family? You know. So, Trey, what are some things like maybe that not even you thought about, but now as you are the partner that people are looking to partner with, that you feel like maybe that you value in the partnership side of who do I pick? You know.
So I think that all goes back to what is the guy or girl that's wanting to partner their business with someone? What are they trying to do? What's their goals?
Their exit plan.
Yes, and I wouldn't call it an exit plan because again,
it's
generalizing like what? Because that was the biggest thing for me was to realize like setting the ego aside to say by partnering with someone means I'm giving up. Right. Or and I don't. That was not the case. I'm working harder today than I've ever worked in my life. And I've created more wealth for not only me but my people in a quicker time frame in the last year than I have in the whole entire history of the business for all these people. Yeah. So I think that really looking at again, what am I wanting out of this partnership? So I think everybody's going to have something different. So I'm going to tell you from my point of view of being someone that had plenty of runway left, not trying to retire. I think there will be some things that other people have in common with me that have maybe a different exit strategy, if you want to call it that. But I was very focused on building a business, partnering with people that were operated minded, right? That had a long-term strategy. And not so when I say a long-term strategy, I think there's a couple different pieces as we unpack this thing. Is there's this financial liquidity event, but then there's an operational piece, right? And those are separated when I talk about this because I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to get liquidity and get to that finish line from a financial standpoint as quickly as possible. But from an operational standpoint, we wanted to build something that was long lasting, that if the market wasn't right, we built an enterprise that would make profits, never jeopardize people that at working with us their job, right? And so I was focused on that piece as an operator and coming from a business that I felt like a lot of people that had put in a lot of sweat equity, a lot of time embedded on me that was still with me, that I owed it to them to partner with the right group that was going to take care of them long term.
Yeah.
And so, so I look at that piece of and in operational excellence has a lot to do with the value creation piece of the so it makes it much sweeter and much more achievable. But that's when I started looking at partners. The first thing I wanted to see was like, what type of operation were they running? What type of partners were they picking? Because most of us all can look at other businesses and know culturally are they the right fit for who I want to be with. And so I wanted someone that was having buying disciplines, right? Because not everybody should fit your mold. And again, that's why I think there's a lot of groups out there today that maybe it's, hey, we're going Siegel branded and we're going to run everything identical in every operation. I think it's a great model. I don't think it fits everybody. It doesn't, right? Then you got another group that says we're not going to touch any business. They're all going to run independent. I think long term that is a hard business to manage, and if things start going wrong, it's going to be very hard to identify what it is. So for us, it was that happy medium of we wanted to create regional brands and then create market density around that brand. But I think all these approaches, depending on what your goal is, right, and what matters to you in your business, and I may put more value on certain things than others, and not that they're right or wrong. We all have our different opinions, but like I really feel like my job as the leader of my business was to create opportunity, and I fully believe I'm in the people building business. And so with that being said, I looked at it a lot different than maybe a guy that was 70 years old, and his main focus was, how do I take care of my wife and my kids and my grandchildren, and that was his main focus. I'm young enough that wasn't my focus.
Right.
And so I think it's all different when we dive into that. But I think what I challenge people to do is, like, that's got to be their opinion, right? It can't be, your opinion can't be created or
formulated
by when you start meeting all these different groups. Because I'm going to assure you,
they're going to wine and dine you.
And I think majority of them are all sincere,
Yes.
and they all believe their model is the best.
Yeah,
and and their job is to convince you. They're in sales, so I think you need to do your research on that and do some soul searching, because the other side of that is, I see a lot of people think, well, they're going to give me all this opportunity. It's my job to take on every bit of opportunity that they'll give me. But that's not, everybody's wired that way, right? There's a work-life balance. So I think the ego of that sometimes got to be set aside to say, you know what, I could be a regional manager, and I could manage 7 locations and travel, and all that sounds cool until
you're managing 7 locations and traveling.
Yeah. So I think it's important, like I said, just know, hey, what do I want to, what's going to make me happy every day if I stay on board? What are some key things? Is it about my people? Do I want to participate in like a rollover and participate in upside, and I want to work hard for the next 5 years and help create that value creation? What is it that I want to do? Or am I just said, you know what? I've spent the last 30 years of my life coming home every day to my wife and kids stressed out, and that's what I want to get rid of. Well, that's a different, not as it all, I believe most of the partners that you're going to partner with today can accommodate that, but I think you got to be very clear.
Yeah, from the front. Yeah, from the jump.
And that's always the best. Like, I found when we start going through this process with partners, the ones that have a really clear outline, like, I want to work for 1 year, or I don't want to work for 2 years, or I want to continue to be in the driver's seat. These are the things I want, and they have a clear vision of what they want personally. Like, that's the biggest obstacle to overcome. It's not how much money your business is worth. Like, all the groups are going to come in fairly close. Like, they may have structured differently, but the overall economic outcome a lot of times is very close. It really comes down to, who do I want to be married to from here on, and who do I want my people to be married to from here on?
Yeah, the who.
Yeah. Well, another thing, like, and I get this question a lot, Lemon Seed. Like, people will say, "Oh, Crystal, I'm getting older. I'm getting ready to do something. What do you know?" And I know that every group is looking for different things. But, like, right now, if you had a contractor that was like, "Hey, Trey, I'm getting ready to sell in the next 3 or 4 years," like, what are some things I should focus on that these private equity groups are looking at? So I know that.
Well, I think this kind of
subjective, but
I think this one answers it fairly broadly, but I think it makes makes the point that when you're removed from the business, your business needs to be able to operate
without you,
right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going to build a business, obviously I'm trying to build it in the right way, meaning the right business mix, which we're focused on residential replacement service businesses, not new construction. Not commercial. So when I want to know the key things that as a that's going to create the most value for me. Secondly, like I said, is your job is to work yourself out of a job. So constantly be building the processes and looking, educate yourself, right? I mean, I think there's a scale you need to get to, and it just really depends on where you are. But there's certain things that I think. We could have a 2-hour conversation over this, that things you should be doing to make sure you're in position to partner with the right partner. But the biggest thing I can tell you is you cannot wait to get your business into shape until it's that time to sell or partner. And secondly, you don't need to be selling or partner out of desperation. Because you're in a losing you put yourself in a losing position. You know, that's one of the biggest things for our group, that as we've built out the platform, you know, is creating these hub locations that has the leadership, that has all the resources it can, because it's truly our passion. I grew up in the trades. I watched grandfather, my dad, and honestly, I've watched a lot of unbelievable people that's in the trades today not have a whole lot to show for years and years and years of hard work and sacrifice. And I think, you know, I'm passionate about that, but at the end of the day, there's got to be something to purchase, right? And I think I speak on behalf of a lot of people in this space. It's like we truly, you know, want to help those people out, but there's things you need to be doing to get your business in that position. And a lot of it comes down to is, you know, finding the right leadership and get them on the right seat of the bus, and just supporting them, getting that new energy in your business for that growth.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I mean, you talk a lot about how, you know, the owner has to do that soul searching and find the right partner and do that thing, but you can kind of get on board there and find out a line that, and maybe find a partner. But then, like, how do you get the buy-in from your team? And I mean, a lot of people could internally see that as like the axe coming down on the company, or like everything good that's ever happened is now going to go away to this new. But that's not always the case, or probably hopefully never the case, you know, that the good things are going to go away. But how do you get that buy-in and position it to your team?
Yeah, so I think that, you know, I think first off is you gotta make sure that you're looking out for the best interest of your team through that process, right? And I think and I think that's translated to your team, that they see that you care, right? And there's certain things I believe that you know, you're making sure you're communicating that with maybe your key team members. But for us, obviously being a company and a platform that has been sitting in their shoes, right? We tailor our whole process to that, because I believe, you know, it's our job to get their buy-in and their trust. Now, do we need the owner and the key leaders to endorse that? Yes. We equip them though with everything to say, with making sure that we understand or that they understand it's a true partnership. It's not a you know, I have no desire to beat my chest, say we bottom out, because reality, everybody that's playing this game, they're using someone else's money. Well,
and you all need each other. Yeah. You know, I mean, there's no use in buying something that's not going to be, that people aren't passionate about seeing be successful. So I always like to understand, like, culture matters. So one thing that, like you mentioned earlier, one thing that's really important is that I know that that's something important to look at. So as somebody that's looking at companies, you know, you look in there, and if you've let your culture kind of roll around, and I say all the time, let the prisoners leave the prison and things like that, like, I would say, like, that's something that's important to notice, because you're going to be trying to look at steering these people in a totally different direction. So it's hard to clean your front porch and steer them in a different direction. So I think, if anything, like, start holding your teams accountable and focusing on your culture, and focusing on your bottom line, and focusing on where you want to be personally in the future, before you just start looking at this, because no matter what we say, like, money talks. You know, and I've had several clients of ours sell into private equity, and, you know, you start out with the best of intentions. I'm going to take care of my team, and I'm going to support everybody, but then real dollars start flying out there. And right now, you know, there's a real it takes a lot of what is the word, restraint, to really look at things subjectively and not get blinded by what's there. So I think you've hit on a lot of this, but I know as you've started your own platform here, and I've watched you kind of take on some new people and all these new great things that are coming out real soon. You've hit on this, but what do you think is, like, if you had to just pick the one biggest difference between what your vision is, and I think it's going to be the people, but I'm just going to let you talk there for a minute. But what do you think is the one thing that your group's going to be focused on?
So, well, I think I think there's a lot of things. So I think it's hard to say the one thing. To sum it all up, though, I believe I want to make sure that all the leadership team, all the partners that trusted us, that 15 years from now, we can all look at what we did and be super proud and still want to be attached to it.
Yeah,
right?
that's great.
I mean, so I think which means a lot of different things. But the question is, this is where I kind of I struggled a little bit when I was looking at this partnership of when I went down that journey. Was you have a financial arm of this thing, right? That is focused on the financial outcome for all the shareholders, and then you have an operational arm. And the question is what was the balance between the two? And some of them have, some of the operators today and that's operating some of these platforms, have not been in the position of actually being a contractor, or does not really have a lot of skin in the game, their own money in the game, or they don't have any type of voting power at the financial arm of this thing. And so what is the balance there? And I think there's got to be balance. There's got to be power and checks and balances, that the operation arm has a strong voice at the private equity table. And that was a huge focus of mine going into this, that, hey, it's my job to protect the herd, right? And at all costs. And making sure that I found a partner that understood the people side of the business. I don't know if every group out there that's in the space today, I don't think they all have that same take, or have that same checks and balances. Do they mean well? I think they all mean well, right? But when it comes down to market turning or operational, when it comes down to something that financial arm decides they need to make a move, what voice does the operational side have? And so that I think that's a huge difference too with our platform, is that we have a very good balance. From the operational voice has a lot of vote and a lot of interest in what's going on the financial side of the business. But obviously, people's a big piece of what we're doing, and focused on the organic growth side of the business to make sure that. And when I say focused on it, not reactively because M&A slowed down or money's gotten expensive. That's been our goal since day one. Is we want to grow the business organically. M&A is a piece of it, but it's not the bulk of it. And I think there's some groups out there that are putting the M&A as their focus of stacking the EBITDA up, and at some point you got to address the operational side. And for us, we've been addressing the operational side from alignment, integration to training, to all those things day one.
Absolutely.
Well, and I know one thing that I've appreciated just hearing you talk about this process and stuff as you've been going through it, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but the legacy so much, and because you are a third generation contractor and grew up seeing how your grandpa ran it and your dad and doing things a different way, but you really appreciate that. And I know a lot of private equity companies probably don't come from this industry, and so valuing that sweat equity and what was it like, going on calls or doing those weekend things. And so I think that legacy and that preservation that you have, because hey, I've been there, and I respect this blue collar group, I think that's something that's pretty different than probably a lot of private equity companies as well.
Yeah. And there's balances, right? There's balance on protecting that legacy, and what does that mean, right? Does it mean that we, the name stays the same, or that we continue to offer the discount? What are those things? And I think it's finding out what those things are and figuring out how do we make those things work. Because as we find partners, ours happens to be Alzheimer's awareness in the McWilliams brand, and something that's passionate to us. We go to other markets and they have something that's different than what we are. But I think it's finding all those things that they kind of hang their hat on, that they're proud of, and how do we continue to invest in that. But we truthfully care about the people, the blue collars. I've been there. I can relate. I'm one of them. And at the end of the day, I think we have a bottom up organization. It's all about servanthood, and I'm not ever going to ask you to do anything that I haven't done. And understanding and being able to be relatable to those people, I think gives a total different perspective and in a different level of buy-in for us, and also just again how we approach the partnership from the get-go. Like, we know the tough conversations. I know what it's like to leave that office the last day that I have 100% control of my business, and looking honestly at all the faces that trust me every day, and wondering, like, and not that there was anything that gave me that put doubt in my mind other than myself. It's like, if I have an employee that comes in here tomorrow with a major health scare, a major health problem, do I have the full right to take care of them like I always would have? And all those things, I think, go through your head. And for us, settling those anxieties and letting them know, like, we're going to take care of the people, and we're going to continue the legacy that you've built. And I think that's extremely important of just how we go about it.
Yeah, so there's a lot to it to me. Like, it's always an emotional, like, thing. And I remember Trey's last day, like, we had a company meeting. And so I remember telling the community marketer, I was like, you got to take a picture of Trey's last company meeting to be in control of. It also happened to be where everyone had on sunglasses, so it's very, very appropriate. But, well, right now the party is definitely hopping at the private equity nightclub, as I call it. Everybody's interested in it. Lots of cool things going on. And let's face it, lots of opportunity out there right now for people to make a good amount of money off all their hard work that they've put in. So it's up to you, though, guys, as the contractor, to be informed, be marketable, do your research, be prepared. And maybe it's not your time. Maybe you're still sitting on the bench watching the game, but eventually it's going to be your time to get tagged in. And I just want you to be ready and be prepared, and be able to build financial wealth for, again, like Trey said, not just you, but for key people that have been a part of your team for a long time. So if you're interested in talking with someone, talking to Trey on the side of selling his business, or talking to him on the side of the businesses that he's looking for now, Trey, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, so I would just we probably could just my email. So Trey@McWilliamsandson.com.
Yep, and we'll link all of that in the show notes for you to look at.
But yeah, sour lemon. Thanks for being here. No, you are the sour lemon, but I do always enjoy just hearing your thought process behind things. A key role that Trey plays in Lemon Seed is, I think, to be very challenging and forcing us to really think about things in a different way and stuff. So
we don't like it that much.
Well, we don't like it, but it does help us grow and things like that.
Absolutely.
So it's beneficial to hear you thinking and how you think of some private equity ways and things like that. So I hope our listeners, our lemon heads, got some of that too.
All right, guys. So thank you for listening to another episode of From the Yellow Chair. If you enjoyed our episode, please consider writing us a review, sharing our post on Facebook, and all the wonderful social platforms that we are on. Sorry.
We got it. So
all right.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.